Yo, what is going on YouTube? It is your boy GCTV. We are back with another video, and in this video we are going to be talking about the 2018 slasher film directed by Johannes Roberts and written by Brian Bertino and Ben Kitai. And it's important to note that this was a sequel from the original The Strangers. So, yeah, earlier in the week we covered that movie. Now we're here to cover this sequel. So we're going to get into what happens, and we're going to get into my thoughts, because I think this is a pretty big improvement from the original film. So let's just get straight into it. And you really like, getting into the plot, you really like a movie that takes up right where it left off. And so, after the events of the first film, in a secluded trailer park in Colita, Ohio, the three masked strangers, who are on the movie poster right there, and are very iconic to this franchise, Dollface, Pinup Girl, and the Man in the Mask, arrive and murder middle-aged couple Cheryl and Marvin. And we later find that their family members are coming out on a retreat. We kind of meet this family. It's pretty much the same story. It is pretty much the same kind of implications, same gimmick, just with more characters. But they do stuff in this movie that really improves it, so let's talk about it. So, the next day after this murder, their niece, Cindy, and her husband, Mike, take a trip with their children, 17-year-old Luke and 15-year-old Kinsey, to the trailer park to spend time together before Kinsey leaves for boarding school. Yeah, they're sending her away. She's been, sorry about the weed whacker outside. Hold on, let me see. So Kinsey's leaving for boarding school. She's done some bad things, like in her teenage life, smoking, doing all sorts of bad shit, and they decide to send her away for some discipline. So after arriving, an unmasked dollface knocks at the front door and asks for Tamara, just like in the original movie, but is turned away by Cindy. So it's almost like a remake of the first film, but it is a sequel. Like, they are and it's a more modern take. Obviously, they are attacking different people, and it is going straight from what they just did to now. So there's a lot of appreciation to be had for a movie like this. So yeah, she's turned away. Kinsey and Luke find their aunt and uncle's mutilated bodies inside another trailer because their daughter wants to find some air or something, and Luke goes after her. It's this whole thing. I don't really care to explain it. So Dollface knocks a second time and is again turned away. Again, just like the original film, there's a lot of callbacks. I wish they were a little more slick with those callbacks than they were, but it is what it is. So Mike follows Luke to find the bodies, while Cindy and Kinsey return to the family trailer. And one of the biggest mistakes you could possibly make is separate the males and the females, because the men are supposed to be the strong guys, and they're supposed to fend these people off. And once you separate them, you're pretty much incapacitating the women. So they find the cell phone smashed before Dollface attacks them. Again, just like in the original film, they destroyed the phone, so there's no outside communication. Cindy helps Kinsey escape and sacrifices herself, obviously being the mother of her child, being that figure for her and saving her life felt like her responsibility. So Mike and Luke find the voicemail that Cindy left for their uncle before arriving, realizing that the offenders had been waiting for them. Like this, they've been kind of looming around, and oh, why didn't they call us, why didn't they warn us, and all this stuff. And well, they probably realized that these are the people that wrote the note in the main office or whatever. So after fending off the Man in the Mask, they find Cindy dead, which is obviously very horrifying, very traumatizing for the family. Kinsey's already kind of had to forget about it and run away. These two are kind of dwelling on it. So they drive around shouting for Kinsey before the Man in the Mask causes their van to crash. I don't really remember what happened. I think he was in the middle of the road, and they kind of swerved out of the way, and they ran into this random building in this trailer park. It's weird. You rent out trailers, and it's like a retreat. It's so weird. I don't know. I guess people stay there, but yeah. So let's see what happens. So Mike is impaled with a wooden plank and gives Luke the gun. He tells him he needs to go out and fight. And there's a lot of dumb, this is where the dumb character actions kind of start. Because it's could you not, help your dad? Obviously it's urgent. You need to find the daughter. It's more important to the father. But still, if you had two people to go out there, then you wouldn't really have the problems that you had in this film. And again, we'll get to some more dumb decisions later on in this movie. So after Luke leaves to find his sister, Mike is killed by the Man in the Mask with an ice pick, and there's a pretty crazy scene here where he sits in the car with him. He turns the radio up. It's a bunch of pop music, and I think the soundtrack's really fucking cool here. It creates a vibe, and he just kills him. So it's kind of fucked up. There's no mercy from these people. They don't have emotions. And you kind of get the sense of that very early on. And you get that in the first film too. Pleading, it doesn't really matter. Like, these people are set on killing you. So Kenzie encounters Dollface and is stabbed before being rescued by Luke. She's not quite dead, obviously, but she's not dead. She is setting up to be the final girl. I mean, you can kind of assume that. You can kind of predict that from the start of the movie. So Luke hides Kenzie under a porch while he runs to the general store for help, trying to get a phone, calling 911, and all the landlines are down. He realizes he is not alone and escapes to the swimming pool, where he is able to kill Pinup Girl. And this is kind of a badass turn of events. And this is a really dope element that they added to this film, killing some members, or now killing all of the members. I think it's a really good way of closing out a sequel, them killing eventually all the members. I thought that was a really good move on the show creators' parts. It's based on true events, but I don't know, that's very, very, it's very broad as to what events they're talking about. So, an angry man in the mask stabs Luke in the back, and you can just tell the actor did a really good job, just showing the fury of the man in the mask. He is so pissed off, so offended, that Luke would do this. Kinsey rescues him before setting off to find help. So they have this long fight in the pool. He's obviously got impaled, Luke was, and he was like bleeding in the pool, and the whole time this crazy, the Solar Eclipse of the Heart song was playing. It's like, holy shit, this is pretty fucking awesome. I mean, I think, in my personal opinion, that's one of the best of this entire franchise so far that I've watched. I haven't watched the new trilogy. This is probably the best sequence we've seen. So a deputy finds Kenzie but is killed by Dollface. Again, dumb decisions. Like, tell the police officer you need to fucking go. Like, don't just sit there explaining, oh, my brother. Like, no. You gotta, you gotta find him, but you don't just sit there like, they're sitting outside, like, talking to each other. Like, get in the fucking car and go. This is an urgent situation. And it causes the death of the officer, so now their outside help is completely hopeless. Kenzie shoots Dollface, removes her mask, and asks her why she is doing this, to which she replies, why not? I mean, maybe if she had a better answer than that, Kenzie would have fucking spared her, but no, why not? Why wouldn't I do it? Like, that's stupid. And that makes it kind of dumb that this movie has killers with and this franchise as a whole has killers with no motive. It's kind of weird. So Kenzie ends up killing her with the shotgun. So now 2 of them are down, and now it's just the man in the mask. So the man in the mask arrives. Kinsley ignites a gasoline leak, blowing up both their trucks. And again, there's very minor, stupid character mistakes throughout this, and maybe that's like the whole horror trope, cliche, making fun of it, and being satirical and all, but this one is really stupid. Like, he's wrecking her car and she's not getting out, running away, nothing. I was questioning a lot of things. So, Kenzie ignites a gasoline leak, blowing up both the trucks. So, somehow the man in the mask survives the explosion, which is extremely unlikely, extremely unrealistic, but we'll let it slide. Kenzie flags down a passing truck, but they flee when they see the man in the mask, and just in time, Kenzie gets in there. Of course, the man in the mask follows her, and they kind of have a combative sequence, fight scene there. She climbs in the back of the truck with him in pursuit, but knocks him off the truck by bashing him in the head with a baseball bat, finally killing him, and that was pretty fucking badass. It was a pretty cool callback to like the start of the film, where it's like, oh, you didn't let me play baseball with you or something, and yeah, it's a really cool moment. Sometime later, Kenzie's at the hospital with Luke, so we're kind of closing out the film here. As she awakens from a nightmare, she hears the Jack-in-the-Box toy noise she heard earlier when encountering Dollface, along with a knock at the door. And this is just showing that obviously these events are going to traumatize these children for the rest of their fucking lives. They're not going to forget this. They obviously lost both of their parents, and she almost lost her brother. Yeah, it's a very fucked up event for this family to have. So, yeah, stuff like that carries with you. So, yeah, let's get into the review. So getting into the review, I think at the very best this movie is a C, but I'm still kind of considering giving it a low rating just because, I don't know, it's very cheap. Like, it's just not very... It's kind of entertaining. Like, there's definitely some good moments, which is why I'm probably going to end up giving it a C. But I don't know. Like, if you gave this an F, I wouldn't be mad at you at all. The Strangers Prey at Night may appeal to the fans of the original who've been jonesing for a sequel. I'm not really... I mean, yeah, I wasn't a fan of the original, but I was definitely looking forward to a sequel. Its thin story and ironic embrace of genre tropes add up to another bloody kind of crash and burn for this franchise. It's okay. I'm very mixed on it. I don't really know how to feel about it. It's quite average, might even be below average to me. It's pretty good. I mean, The Strangers Prey at Night really takes The Strangers to the next level and serves as a perfect introduction to The Strangers for new horror fans. You can go back and watch The Strangers and be just as happy. Not just as happy. You wouldn't be as happy, but you could watch this before the original and be perfectly fine. It's not really a story. It's really just people going around fucking killing people for no reason, no motive, which really takes a lot away from the movie, if I'm being honest. That whole story plot, that whole idea, that whole concept of, I don't know, why not? Why wouldn't we kill people? Like, come on, dude. Like, are you a part of a cult? Are you required to do it? Do you have a fucked up childhood? Like, come on, man. It just doesn't make sense. But obviously, this movie's not here to have character connections whatsoever. It's well made to an extent. It's spooky, stylish. It features some decent character work. This movie stands much taller than the original for sure. The central killers are pretty scary, and some of the images on display would make a guy like John Carpenter pretty proud. I think Roberts did a very good job here to an extent. I don't think it was perfect, but yeah, its characters may fumble, and its winks to the first film may not be as slick as you kind of want them to be. The movie does maintain the original commitment of presenting horror to the most mundane. It doesn't just disrupt an innocent setting of a quiet suburb. It is that relentless seclusion, heightened by a haunting soundtrack of otherwise harmless songs. And now you go back and you listen to those songs and you're like, well, damn, those songs are kind of fucking scary now. But yeah, the tone of the film is great, I think. While the original Strangers was devoid of any sense of the 80s, instead opting for a kind of timeless modern quality, Roberts' sequel boasts its stylistic depths, with everything from camera shots and music choices culled from the 80s, forming an impressionistic collage of a time period that feels made for a big screen. So they definitely do embrace that time period a lot better than the original does. Um, Aside from the quick setup introducing the targets, this movie really is a nonstop thrill ride. I don't think I was really bored. Again, with that being said, it's still not that good of a movie, but I still wasn't bored watching this really at any point. I know it's a cliche, but sometimes you just gotta call it as you see it. It was dope. I mean, it was pretty dope. I mean, good job for Roberts. He had a really big break with a movie like this. He was wise to amp up the atmosphere with a kick-ass original score, great cinematography. Yeah, I don't really know. No. The movie's ludicrously drawn out finale sapped the goodwill out of some people. You know, watching it, I could definitely see that being a thing. Although the film is as slim and poorly balanced as a cheap knife, it's a stylish 1980s throwback that packs plenty of terror into its short running time. This isn't a horror movie that will take up residence in your nightmares or anything, but the sequel to the 2008 movie, bleh, The Strangers, is nonetheless more effective in the short term as its well-made counterparts. It's like Friday the 13th with 4 victims and 3 Jasons, and who doesn't like that? I guess it's not as good, but I mean it's shameless and it's brilliantly misanthropic. Family of the Lambs to the slaughter violence, it's blith depravity that's more fetishized than felt. It doesn't take much though, as it didn't in the 80s, to create a one weekend horror hit, and I feel like this is just kind of here for the moment. It's not really here forever, so it makes sense. It's kind of difficult to really invest in what happens to a decent amount of the characters, though, I will say. Before long, characters are all making stock horror movie decisions, and there's no amount of effective craftsmanship that can sell this stupidity at times. Audience members will be too busy sighing at the screen. There are definitely some sci-fi moments, but yeah, it's still a C. It might be a D, honestly. If I had to do like a tier list of horror movies, it would be a C or D tier movie. So yeah, that being said, I'm out, guys. Leave a like, comment, and subscribe. I'm just gonna throw these clips together, put them on the channel. NBA games are getting ready to start, so I'll do a recap tonight too. So peace.